Ah, the skill of Zerg. Who would dare defend the skill of Zerg? Who would dare defend the skill of the Zerg? Well, I would. This is another gaming video, and I'm going to talk a little bit about game theory. And I'm going to direct this a little bit more towards the MMO market, because this is a place where we get to see the skill of the Zerg. And not so much in other smaller scale games, but because we have massive amounts of people, we have certain skills that go into creating the Zerg that everyone hates. A little background to this, I do have a memory. A long time ago, there was a game that came out called Warhammer Online, and I can maybe talk about some of my memories of that game in a different video. But the game had kind of come and gone by this time, and I was talking to my friend John, who was an excellent World of Warcraft PvPer and great arena player and good guy. And he's like, there's, the PvP in Warhammer was just this skillless Zerg, was something he said. That there's no skill in just Zerging a position and taking it down because you have overwhelming numbers. And I'm going to defend the Zerg from that perspective, because there is skill in Zerging. But it's not a skill that most people think of as an elite gaming skill. Most people, when they think of elite gaming skills, they think of like how fast someone clicks, how much they micro their little guy, what their reaction time is, how well they strategize on the fly, how well they understand the metagame and are able to interact with that, or just being able to execute combos, understanding the game systems on an intimate level that allows them to exploit them and really compete well. Those are the sort of things that we tend to think of as gaming skills. It's like this dexterity thing and this reaction time sort of thing, like you're the fastest gun in the West. That's what we think of as gaming skill. But there are gaming skills that aren't related to your dexterity and your reaction time, or even your ability to strategize all that well, but are related to your social skills and your leadership skills. Those are the things that have been kind of forgotten. And as World of Warcraft has gotten older, which is the big Titanic MMO, as it's gotten older, it's also shrunk down its size requirements for most of the things. The raids used to be 40 people, then they were 25 for a while, then they were 25 and 10. Then everyone kind of ended up at 10, and now they're just kind of flexible. You can just bring however many you want. It doesn't have to be a specific number anymore. And as that decay has happened, we've had less ability to organize large people. The skill that went into leading a large number of people has sort of gone by the wayside. And only in like a really large-scale MMO are you going to be able to see a lot of those skills put to productive use in being successful in the game. There's a skill that comes with being able to get 50 people into one place at one time, or 40 people into one place at one time, get them all to do the same thing, get them all to commit to the same system, like the same DKP system, get them all to play nice with each other, show up 3 days a week, and stay in your guild, right? That is leadership. It takes a lot of leadership to keep a lot of people happy. And anybody that's been a manager in a business can tell you that managing relationships between people, managing productivity, and getting people to do what you want takes social skill. It's about convincing people to do things. And in something like World of Warcraft, where it's totally voluntary, you're really going to have to put those leadership skills to the test to get your guild up and running. And as we've required less, so we've also lost our ability to man our social skills, so to speak. And the same thing, I think, has happened in PvP to a large extent. PvP and vanilla were, it was started off as open world. There were no battlegrounds. And then you started to get smaller PvP with Burning Crusade. So you went from having like the main PvP thing being this Alterac Valley battleground that was 40 on 40 and took forever to do and was quite epic, down to arenas. Like the focus became on arenas, which were like 2v2s, like 2 people and 2 people. So you really only had to manage a relationship with one other person to get that happening. And I remember in vanilla, you'd have 40 people in Alterac Valley, and those 40 people would somehow figure out how to execute something together. Somebody would end up being the leader and convincing everyone to do things on the fly. And that I appreciate that skill. And that skill's been lost. Now, if you go into something that's large like that, it's mostly going to be, it's going to be up in the wind. And then I think in all the PvP, we've gotten a little bit more toxic community. Certainly, I haven't played since last year, and I PvP'd pretty extensively last year, but I decided I just didn't want to do it anymore because the community was very toxic. If you look at something like League of Legends, there's virtually no consequence. And of course, like, there's not much consequence in World of Warcraft now with all the, like, cross-realm stuff. But in League of Legends, there's virtually no consequence to lack of social skills. Right? You're not having to build a team. You're not having to try to, just the social skill, even if you're not the leader, trying to maintain good working relationships with other people on your team that you may not have a lot of affection for, takes a certain amount of social skill to be able to mitigate conflicts with your peers. It takes social skill. So with League of Legends, none of that social skill exists. It's just people being toxic to each other all the time. I mean, it's legendary for its toxicity at this point. And why? Well, it's because you don't have to build your team. Like, you can just keep queuing into the games, and you don't really have any negative consequences for it. And there's not necessarily a lot of positive consequences for being sociable. You're probably not going to improve how well you do in any given match. So there you go. You don't end up with that skill. I think a good MMO will give you an opportunity to use that skill and put it to the test. We had to have good leaders back in early versions of WoW, and you had to have good leaders in EverQuest, and you have to have good leaders in larger scale games that still exist, like Aeon, to organize the right number of people to go out and achieve an objective. That is something that we don't really get to see a lot in games when they're very limited in scope. We don't get to see a lot of the leadership skill being put to the test. And I was very lucky, in my Warcraft experience to play with some great leaders, some other people that are great leaders. And I got to put my own leadership skills to the test. I ran a couple guilds, and I learned a lot about how to make people happy and how to, like, enforce rules in a way that doesn't make people super upset, and how to mitigate conflict in a great way. So I learned a lot from those experiences. I gained skill. Gained leadership skill. And I knew some of the guys I played with went on to have very successful careers in business outside of World of Warcraft. And it was, I think, the fact that they had that leadership skill has transferred over into other mediums outside of gaming, which is not something that I could say about microing around a little Zergling, right? I can't really say that. That's going to translate into big time career skills. But interpersonal skills, yes, this will translate. So I will defend the skill of Zerg, because in order to have that Zerg, in order to have that huge rush of people in Warhammer to go grab this fortress or whatever node you're trying to capture out in the world, you have to convince that many people that it is worth their time and effort to go do it, and that takes some social skill, and it takes some good rhetoric, and it takes some good speaking, and those are skills that I would love to see return to gaming in general, not just World of Warcraft. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I am always appreciative of the conversation, and I sincerely hope that you have a great day or night whenever you're watching it.